Welcome to But For Real, a variety show podcast co-hosted by two therapists who also happen to be loudmouth feminists. I'm Valerie, your resident elder millennial child-free cat lady.
And I'm Emerson, your resident chronically online Gen Z brat. And on the show, we'll serve up a new episode every other week that will take you on a wild ride through the cultural zeitgeist, mental health, and beyond.
You'll definitely laugh and TBH sometimes maybe cry a little because this is a silly and serious show.
Buckle up, my friends, and let's get into today's episode.
Oh my God, here we are.
Like, you're kidding.
The day has come. Nobody asked for that.
We asked for it.
Welcome to the rabbit hole, my friends.
The rabbit hole where you fall down and you feel like you're not going to get back up, but like you will. We promise.
Yeah, probably.
We can hope, right?
So we are super stoked for this episode. You're going to get to hear a little bit more about each of us in a moment. And then we'll do our first little installment of this incredible variety show. We have a bunch of fun segments planned. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling like the one part of me was nervous. I was like, be funny, but also be yourself. And then the other part's like, wait, you're with Val. Like, we just have a kiki party every time, no matter where we are anyways. So I think it's going to be a ride.
Yes, absolute ride. Okay. And also, this is our first episode. So I'm sure that we will continue to find our footing. We'll figure out which segments work, maybe all of them, maybe not all of them. Like, we'll see, and we'll get more comfortable as we go along. So, like, buckle up, strap in. Here we go.
Ready, Freddy.
Okay, so since this is episode 1, we thought it would be fun to do little mini interviews of each other. And I'm going to start. So I'm Val, Valerie Martin, and I am going to ask Emerson a few questions. So first of all, you have a very interesting life story, especially for a person who is pretty young.
Sure.
And you didn't move to the States until you were how old?
I was almost 12.
Okay. So fill us in on where you were before that and why, and where the fuck is your accent?
So I hail from the very small country, Wales, which is very little, and it's next to England, a part of the greater system of the United Kingdom, Great Britain. So I was born and raised in Wales. I was born in Cardiff, which is the capital, and then trickled down to the little valley where I was raised with my mom and my dad, and then eventually my younger sister. So our origin story started there. All of my family, I have some family that live in Australia, but we're all from the UK, spread out, kind of around there. And my dad is kind of our family's accidental engineer of sorts, always was in STEM kind of industry. And he had an opportunity to go to Shanghai, China, and do some training for the plant. There was a plant opening. So my parents were like, what the hell? Are we going to move 2 kids to China? But we did. And it was a really amazing experience. Just got to travel and find so much richness in culture and grew really close with my family. It's pretty much just been the 4 of us ever since. Living abroad, having cultural assimilation, all of those things. But it was a really fruitful journey. And my parents weren't really interested in moving back to the UK. They were like, well, let's see where we can go next. So there was another plant opening in Clarksville, Tennessee. And my dad was like, all right, fuck it. Let's just go and figure it out. And I was so not happy. I was pissed the house down boots. I was like, you've got to be kidding. I thought I was going to live in China for ever. So we moved to Clarksville in 2012, 2011. Math be mathin', right? And I've been here ever since. I did all of my middle school, high school, undergrad, post-grad, start working. I work at the Gaia Center with Valerie. So been here ever since. And the rest is kind of herstory. I'm like, all right, where am I going to end up in the future? Who knows?
Where in the world will Emerson go? And the accent, like, did it fade over time? Or, because that's such an interesting age, right? I mean,
oh, yeah.
I guess there weren't a lot of Welsh accents over in Shanghai either, but
no.
Your parents still obviously retained their accents, right? Since they moved as adults.
Oh, yeah. So in Shanghai, I went to BIS, which is the British International School of Shanghai. So we had a selection of friends and kids that were from Wales. So I kind of like had some of my like vernacular retainment being a part of that community. But if you ask my mom, she says that my like vernacular was all over the place when I was living in Shanghai. I had friends from different parts of England. I had an Irish friend. I had Australian friends, American friends. So I was just picking up little bits of everything. And then when I came to Clarksville, it kind of, you know, there was like some novelty around this like pale British, like Victorian looking child just like entering the American public school system. So everyone was gagged. They were like, wait, where the fuck are you from? Kind of liked it. And then some people were like, you're weird. You know, kids just being shits, whatever. But so I assimilated quickly. I was like, oh, I need to kind of listen and like get with the program quickly because I wanted to just blend in and fade away.
School,
pretty much
assimilate or die, right?
You're kidding. They call middle school the armpit of life for a reason, people.
Yes.
It just was boring. So I only had like a few weeks of sixth grade. Hated it so bad. Spent the summer like assimilating, trying to figure out, you know, how to fit in, how to be normal. Hate that word. And yeah, it's kind of, I feel like sometimes I slip into like a southerny kind of twang, but most of the time people are like, oh, it's really interesting that you picked up an American accent, but you didn't really pick up a lot of the like southern isms. I have a few of them sometimes, but I think I somewhat have like a neutral American accent. So thanks TV and music.
And where are you at in like, I know you're kind of working toward the citizenship thing because you're a permanent resident or whatever they call it right now.
Yep. Legal aliens. Love that.
Oh, yes. Legal aliens. God.
I'm like, we love that. But yes, my family is pursuing our citizenship journey. We've been green card holders for over a decade. And we kind of thought we were always going to do that. And we initially went for a green card because we were like, oh, what if we only live here for a couple of years like we did in China, but ended up staying. And it's just going to be easier. I can't begin to express how many applications across my life that I have to do more work for to explain why I'm a permanent resident, all that other crap. So we take our oral test and our interview in like 2 weeks. So we've all been like I literally have citizenship questions printed right in front of my face because I'm like, do you know about the Constitution, girl? Like, you kind of need to brush up on this herstory a little bit, you know?
Yeah. You probably know more than me.
I honestly want to like rapid fire and like these questions at anyone that I see that's an American-born person. I'm like, so do you know your tea or what? No. Like, do you know your country's
They know
history?
there was a Boston Tea Party and that is about it.
Honestly, us at the Boston Tea Party would have been slay. Like, we would have had a fun time. Just like, well, yes.
True.
Well, yes.
True. Okay, so what does it mean to you to be Le Gen Z? And does that resonate with your sense of self?
100%. I think I wear the Gen Z cloak with pride. I'm a 99 baby, so my 18-year-old sister kind of like head scratches and she's like, millennial, derogatory sometimes. So I'm kind of like on that like no bad. I'm like on that cusp a little bit. So I guess sometimes I'm more of like a zillennial, if you will, but I really love being Gen Z. I think it does, add into my identity. I'm chronically online. I love pop culture. I love being in the know. I spend too much time on TikTok. Fuck capitalism. Like, I have all the Gen Z isms. And I feel like
every badge.
Oh, and I wear them with honor, mama. Like, it's all there. So I love being in Gen Z. And I love like talking to, in our relationship, like with clients that are older, with just like people in my personal life. Like, I love being one of the ones that's like, hey, semi-young person, what does this mean? And I'm like, let me enlighten you, darling.
So we need to be enlightened. Okay. What is your favorite thing about being a therapist?
I love this question. I think my favorite thing about being a therapist, and Callaway Voss and I were talking about this the other day.
Future guest of the pod.
Amazing queen, our resident witch. We love her. Callaway and I were talking about like why we do this work. And my ultimate answer is human connection. I think sitting, we were talking about like modalities and like evidence-based practice and like the things that are important and the things that do add to the healing journey. But what I think is ultimately why I do what I do is because being in relationship is a corrective experience for just about anybody. No matter if you have a really big community or if you've got no community, you've experienced trauma, or you've just waited your whole life for somebody to sit and listen to your story. I just really love being a vessel and a mirror. I think we use the word mirror a lot in our like field of work, but just mirroring my own humanity back to people and my own humanness. Like, I am person, so are you, and let's just like be people here is really the most fruitful part of the work for me.
I love that. Oh my gosh. So fun. Well, I'm sure we'll get to sprinkle more of our biographical info into future episodes, but that was so fun. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now we're spinning it
The
around.
tables are turning.
The tables are turning, and I have questions for Val. So, you've hosted some other podcasts in the past. Why this one, and why now?
Oh man, great question. So yeah, I've been hosting podcasts on and off. My first one was actually a little co-hosting, and that was like 2015, 2016, but it was short-lived. It's like me and a dietitian talking about like well-being stuff. But it was fun. My only experience co-hosting. And also she was a redhead. Huh? What do you know? And then all my others have been solo and various sort of like mostly interview stuff, just like talking about deep shit with people. Yeah. And I really enjoyed that. But there always sort of came like a natural point where it was just like, I think it's time to move on. Like, it's always been a bit of a hobby thing. I've never really tried to make it something. Until I kind of did a little bit with my last one, got a producer, all that jazz. But still, just the evolution of things. Things are always changing and unfolding. And so how this sort of emerged was after I put my last podcast on indefinite hiatus, I was like, the more that we've kind of connected, the more that I've seen your personality shine, I'm like, you know what would be really fun would be co-hosting a podcast with Emerson and figuring out, like, does that make sense for us? Like, is that connected to the Gaia Center and the work that we do at all? Sure. Whatever. Like, what the hell does this mean? So we talked about it and we're like, oh, wait. And inspired by, I will always be grateful to Camp Counselors podcast, Jonathan Carson and Zachariah Porter, because they have a little variety show. And so we're trying to do like our own spin on that. And I think discovering a podcast like that, I was like, wait a minute. So it doesn't just have to be these like hour-long interviews with people. Like, we can just riff on these little topics and just have a grand time. And it's vaudeville style. It is so much fun. So I'm really excited for the format. And then the opportunity to co-host it with you, and you were down, and we're like, it's a Gaia Center production. It's going to be, supportive of our efforts there, and hopefully supportive for clients and strangers across the world. So it just feels really exciting. And like, I've not been more excited about a podcast before. So
wait, that's so exciting. And I think, I'm so pumped to see where this goes. And I think many a time people are like, you should do a podcast. And I've always been like, yeah, sure. But like, how and who would I do it with and what would it look like? And so when we both had that like moment, I was like, oh, we're gonna have something fun going on. So I'm pumped. I literally wrote in the notes how you birthed our mother Gaia. And some of your girl boss herstory. Valerie is legit one of the hardest working people that I've ever met, and is a total boss. So give us a little like juicy juice about, Gaia and like some of your other like girl bossy efforts.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, this is the only thing I plan to be birthing at any point. And really, I mean, I view my work is my passion, is my legacy. And as someone who, not to say that you can't have an incredible like work, passion, legacy, and raise human children, but that path has never called to me. And so, it just gives me more of my sort of time and energy get poured into this passion and, helping to create that ripple effect. I thought I would always be content in solo practice. I'm like an introverted extrovert. I finally had to accept about myself that I am in fact an extrovert, but I like my alone time and I like a lot of it.
Heard.
So yeah, I thought I would always be content alone. But then, along comes a DM in 2019 from Colleen, who works with us, and the rest is her story. Colleen was a guest, by the way, and you can still find my other podcast stuff under Honor Your Spark. She was a guest on my podcast a year-ish ago. So anyway, and it was just like kind of cool. It was like a wild flower garden that's like you just start throwing seeds out and like, oh shit, look, it's like sprouting into something beautiful. And we've done this like all together. And it's so cool to get to see like what could like a business look like that, really centers culture and growth. And so it's just been really fun to continue to see that unfolding and to continue to challenge myself to step into more of the leader role. Cause I was like, accidental leader, didn't mean to do this. Oopsie, what now? But really trying to own that role and step into it. So we'll see. TBD.
TBD. I love. Okay. Flipping of the Gen Z, you are our millennial representation. So what does it mean for you to be the elder millennial? Does it resonate for you? Do you wear it on your sleeve? What's your truth?
Yes, I feel like I definitely see a lot of millennials and our little subsect of elder millennials, like very proud. And a lot of that is like at this point in my life, in my late 30s, nostalgia, right? And like walking into the American Girl store and seeing like Nikki and Isabel with their little blow up chair and like their room 1999 looking like my room did in 1999. And I'm just like, it is really fun. Like our music, our culture, our TV shows, Nickelodeon, and just, yeah, that sort of collective cultural nostalgia is really fun for me. So I love being an elder millennial.
So fun. American Girl doll. Have you ever seen that meme where it's like, I think I know more about American Girl dolls than you do, genius? That's so millennial to me. It's so funny.
What is that account? Damn it. I'm going to have to pull it up for a future segment. But there is an account, an Instagram account that's like an American Girl thing, but it's like real American girls. And it's so fucking funny. We'll have to find it.
I need it. And then rounding out, same question. What is your favorite thing about being a therapist?
I'm just endlessly curious about human behavior and psychology. What makes us tick? What is the fucking point? Name of a former podcast. What is the fucking point of all of this, right? Which is why I am now delving into the the depths of the existential therapy world. And so, yeah, just the curiosity. There's an endless amount to learn. And then like, whoa, we get to like help people while we're being curious about all of that. How cool.
I love that. Yeah, I'm so excited to have your trickle down learning from all of the humanistic and existential rootings of our field. Why are we here and what does it mean?
What does it mean?
No, but for real, what does it mean? Now it's time for our first segment, Tea and Crumpets, where we tell you what we can't stop talking about this week.
So my tea and crumpets this episode is the movie Hitman. It is so good. You haven't seen it yet, have you?
No.
Okay. After this, you're going to be like, I got to go watch it. So it was directed by Richard Linklater, who I love, who's like a big Texas guy. He did Dazed and Confused, a bunch of like cult classic movies, Boyhood, which is one of my all-time favorites. So anyway, directed by Linklater, written by Linklater and Glenn Powell, who was the star. And I guess I'm, as the elder millennial, I'm sometimes under a little bit of a rock. And so I did not know who this Glenn Powell person was, but apparently he's like the new it guy.
Oh, yeah.
So he stars in it along with Adria Arjona. And they are both wonderful. She's like a baby Salma Hayek, and he's like a baby McConaughey. Which Linklater like kind of launched McConaughey's career with Dazed and Confused in the early 90s. And so like his next generation sort of McConaughey predecessor coming out.
All right.
Hook 'em horns. McConaughey also teaches in the film school that I graduated from at University of Texas, baby.
Shut up.
Right? Okay, so a little bit more about Hitman, which I'll keep the synopsis part brief because you can look that up and, like to avoid any spoilers. But essentially, it's like this kind of nerdy guy who's a little bit socially challenged because he's just obsessed with human behavior and psychology, okay? And his cats are named Id and Ego, and he teaches psychology at a university. And on the side, as a little side gig, he helps out with some tech stuff with the New Orleans Police Department. And then all of a sudden, their guy who like poses as a hitman to try to trap these people who are trying to hire hitmen and get them arrested before they can actually get someone killed, he has to step in as that guy. And he's like, so really fascinating exploration of identity and even ethics and really cool stuff. So a little bit about, it's been critically acclaimed, 95% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. Washington Post called it a blast of pure pleasure and one of the year's best films. And the New York Times said it was romantic, sexy, hilarious, satisfying, and a genuine star-clinching turn for Glenn Powell. So I can't recommend it enough. It came out in 2023, but then Netflix got the distribution rights, and then it did a brief theatrical run this summer in 2024.
Ooh, yeah, Glenn Powell is totally the white boy flavor of summer. Of the week, but I think also summer. Everyone is living for some Glenn Powell. All
right, what's your tea?
My tea is that I literally can't shut the fuck up talking about the fact that I'm learning ASL. Like everyone, my family's like, no, we get it. We got it. And I'm like, but I'm just excited. I decided to go back and take like a no credit class at my university. I think a part of me also was like, do I need to come back here in some capacity? So I was like, oh, ASL. Always wanted to learn it. I used to work with like a lot of nonverbal kids. I was a nanny throughout college, and so was learning like lots of baby sign, but I always wanted to just like beef it up, do it in a classroom setting. I've always had a knack, if I was to, give myself a pat on the back, for language, kind of had to, moving around a bunch. So I've been really enjoying learning in person. My teacher is amazing. She's teaching me about deaf culture. So I just threw on some, if you didn't know, American Sign Language is the language used for deaf and hard of hearing individuals in the United States. So the A for ASL, American. There is no universal sign language. Most of the time people think that sign language is universal, but it's not. It's definitely based on your country and your region. Sign language is the 4th most used language in the US, which I thought was really cool. And is technically considered a foreign language. So a lot of students can get academic credit for doing sign language, which is cool. But yeah, I'm just having a blast. It's a visual language, so I'm really having a fun time learning signs, finger spelling, how much facial expressions goes into the language. And I'm just having a jolly good time learning something new. It's like really sparked something, I think, in my like long-term burnout. It's given me something joyful and creative to do and express myself. And so yeah, I'm really thankful for my teacher and learning something new.
Oh, that's so exciting. Yeah, I can't wait to hear how that just continues to unfold. And like, it might be a thing that you just learn a little bit of and kind of have that in your back pocket, or you might end up going further with it. And who knows, you might be able to use it with clients someday. Right?
That would be the big dream picture. I think it's definitely a niche that people would like or need for sure. Interpretation, baby. Now it's time for Step Into My Office, where you get advice from your favorite professionally qualified, personally peculiar therapists. So here is the letter. Dear Em and Val, how the fuck do I fight the Sunday Scaries? I'm tired of starting every Sunday with a large cup of coffee and a side of existential dread. Sincerely, the girl who's ready to sell it all and move in with the Amish. But you know what? The Amish bust down on a hot cross bun. So I kind of feel that. This I feel though. If I am nothing but a Sunday Scaries survivor, okay? I am out here trying to survive every Sunday and feeling as though I'm being hunted for sport in the safety of my own home. We love being a human. What's your take on Sunday Scaries?
Oh my gosh. I mean, little anticipatory dread. We all love it, right? I mean, I think it's super relatable. Like, it's obviously the Sunday part of it is for folks who have this sort of traditional Monday through Friday, but you could have any day of scaries if you have a non-traditional schedule. Yep. And just that dread, that pit in your stomach, that like overwhelm. And I've done a lot of work on it myself. I know you're going to share some tips and I can share some ideas, but yeah, I just think it's something that like, as much as it's valid that you, especially if you're not in a situation that you love work-wise, totally valid, but like also don't let your job steal that time from you. If you really hate it, like it doesn't deserve to have another fucking day of your energy. So I think we do need to really work to kind of reclaim that time and mental energy.
Yeah. One of the number one things I threw down is that the Sunday Scaries is not an abnormal experience. So I got this from psychiatricmedicalcare.com. There was a 2022 study by LinkedIn that reported out of 3,000 workers surveyed in the US, 80% experienced Sunday evening discomfort. So the majority of us are like, when it comes to Sunday anyways, like Val said, if you have a traditional schedule or not. But when this is brought up in personal kind of sphere and with clients, one of the things I always like to know is, what is your work-life balance? Like, are you working on the weekends? Are you bringing stuff home? Is your work and the balance of your care tasks at home, doing laundry, meal prep, vacuuming, is it all occurring on the weekend? And then you do all of that stuff and then you feel like you blinked and your weekend is gone. And then the paralysis comes in. So I really love kind of encouraging like a daily 3 or a daily 6 or like tiering, what days of the week are you breaking up some of your like admin adulty tasks so not everything is falling to the weekend, so that you can actually enjoy your weekend as much as you can and would like. On the flip side of that, like somewhat of a flip, if you find yourself rotting all of your weekends away, which, hey, been there, still kind of do it on occasion. Some loose structure to your weekends is important. So are you playing? Are you having fun? Are you getting up out of the bed and touching grass? And I mean, for real, like putting
with
those
your
dogs on the grass Are you getting some sun? Do you have one small social engagement plan? Go to dinner, or just invite your friends over and enjoy your rent and have fun in your own space. Sunday rituals. I'm a big fan of a zhuzh. Zhuzh up the shit that you already do. Like, if you're already going to eat dinner on Sunday, put a little, like, ritual behind it. Like, throw some extra spice in there, or... I love that my zhuzh is always seasonal. So, like, we're going into fall. So, like, I love, like, a warm, hearty soup or, like, a hearty Sunday dinner. That helps me feel satisfied and, like, kind of excited for, like, the leftovers for a Monday. If your Mondays are always full of dread, make your Mondays easy. I could not get through my life without rewards. I'm like a little Pavlovi dog. I need rewards for everything. So you will catch me with a 3 p.m. sparkling water, fun bevy, or a matcha. And you will catch me making something easy for dinner on Monday so that I can spend, maybe more time watching my show or doing a craft. Just accommodate yourself the best that you can. No, it's not an abnormal experience. And know that, exactly like Valerie said, don't allow the anticipatoriness of the things that are always going to be there anyways continue to cut through your very precious personal time, and just start trying to get to some of the roots of what's going on with a therapist, with your community, whoever. And give yourself something to fucking look forward to. I feel like most of us don't do that enough. And it can be the most simple things. Easy dinner, easy beverage, hot girl walk, anything.
So, yeah, to me, one of the biggest things is, like, when all of your fucking days and weeks just start to blur together, it's just such a mind fuck. And it feels like your life is just, like, melting away. So I love the idea of a ritual. Like, we love doing, like, Sunday morning brunch, even if we're not going out for it. It's, like, aside from our normal, like, smoothie and cereal breakfast, we'll actually, like, cook up some Impossible sausages and Just Egg and grapefruit and a little hash brown and sit and watch a show on Sunday morning. And it's just, like, those little things that, and this was big during pandemic life for sure, because every fucking day and week blended together, right? Yeah. But you, like, mark those little milestones. Give yourself those rituals that may be specific to Sunday or to Saturday. And I know some people also really like, kind of, to your point of not doing all of your life admin stuff on the weekend, like having one day, whether it is your Saturday or Sunday, where it's just like, today is like just leisure. And I know that gets more complicated when you've got kids and all of that, but like, Are you protecting the leisure time?
We need to leisure.
We do.
Like, a little bit.
Okay, so by the way, normally in the episode at this point, we would be moving into a segment called The Lore, which is listener-submitted stories, and we do have one for you for episode 2, so just get excited about that. But we figured we already had the interview section today. We don't want this episode to be 1 million minutes long, so we're going to skip the lore today, but come back for episode 2.
And now it's time for the DSM. In our DSM, all varieties of dysfunction, spiraling, and meltdowns are welcome. In this segment, we break down complicated concepts and common misconceptions about mental health, well-being, and tell you what we really think.
Okay, so for our DSM topic today, we wanted to talk about rabbit holes. Ye old rabbit hole. And I asked Sir GPT to tell us what exactly does this idiom rabbit hole really mean? And this is what she said. As an idiom, a rabbit hole refers to a situation or process that is complex, confusing, or difficult to escape, often involving getting deeply absorbed in something without recognizing how much time or effort it takes. It typically describes becoming distracted by exploring increasingly intricate or obscure details, sometimes to the point of losing track of the original goal or purpose. I don't know her. I really, really do. And then the phrase comes from Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll, where Alice falls down the rabbit hole and enters a surreal, bewildering world. Similarly, going down a rabbit hole suggests delving into something unexpected or overwhelming?
Thought spiral.
It can feel magnetic, right? Like the pull to, like, once you start, it starts with like one little like, I wonder about this. And then like 3 hours later, right?
Oh yeah. I tell clients that are like in thought spirals or going down the rabbit hole, it feels the equivalent of like scratching a mosquito bite. It's like, you kind of know like you shouldn't, and it probably won't feel great like in the aftermath, but in that moment it's like, ooh, let me do more, and then I'm like going more, and then you've like itched yourself to a frenzy, and then like you need some CeraVe or something, you know? It's just like too much.
Yep. Yeah, what is your general experience of a rabbit hole or a recent rabbit hole that you've been down?
Ooh. Oh my God. My rabbit holes occur a lot. I'm just a thought daughter. I be thinking, you know, like I'm always thinking about something. I was telling my mom, I was like, I swear I turned 6 and I just started thinking. Like I just, and I haven't stopped. So I think, probably a recent rabbit hole I went down. There's like always like health related anxiety. So I'm like everyone is kind of like in that back to school, like sniffle or stomach bug. And so there's like a small like psychosomatic thing going on in my body. And I'm like, I have COVID. I have this virus. I'm going to be sick and I don't want to be sick. So, and then I'm just thinking about it. I'm like, should I go to the doctor? No, there's nothing wrong with you. Well, maybe you could just eat some Tums. Okay, I ate the Tums. But what if that wasn't enough? And then it just... So, rabbit holes, I am familiar with.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, sometimes it can start from like an anxious place like that. And other times it can start from like just a curious place.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're like, why did I just spend 3 hours researching this? Like for me, sometimes I went down a rabbit hole on like de-bloating supplements the other day. Like I'm standing in Target and I'm there to get something entirely fucking else, right? And then I'm like walking past the little section. They've got all their like fancy little supplements there. And I'm like, do I need that? But then, of course, I want to know if I'm about to spend $25 on a bottle of vitamins that are mostly likely expensive piss, right? But if I'm about to do it anyway, knowing this, I want to make sure I get the right ones, the best ones, right? So then you're on Amazon and you're like, and then like the lady who's restocking the cosmetics shelves at Target is like, girl, how long have you been standing here on your phone?
Right. She's kind of mad. She's like trying to restock. She's like, can she fucking get out of the way or what? You're like, actually, I'm price matching against Walmart. So.
Right. Yeah. And I need to read more reviews and then I need to read some Reddit threads because, you know, this review was collected as part of a promotion and we all fucking know what that means, right?
Reddit is the place, I think,
for the
to
rabbit
fall down
holes.
a rabbit hole.
Yes. Because people have opinions. And I feel like I'm such a Reddit lurker. I'm sure a lot of people resonate with that. Like, I'm not really going on there posting much.
Me either.
But when I am on a rabbit hole, believe me, that is where I am looking.
Oh, same. I'm like in a subreddit of the subreddit and I'm like clicking on the people's profiles and I'm like, what does this all mean? Like, what? Yeah, the very anxious place or the hyper-focused place. The two kind of flavors of rabbit holes.
Right. So we're going to talk about where the line is because, but for real, where is that line between a healthy rabbit hole and just ruminating your little butt off?
Oh, yeah.
So signs of an unhealthy rabbit hole. One would be, is it distracting you from shit that you actually really need to be doing, right? And that's, I mean, you could say somewhat always, but it's like there's a difference between a 30-minute rabbit hole on a Saturday afternoon and you're like, really, I have the time, versus like, I can't afford a 2-hour rabbit hole on supplements when I've got 2 podcast episodes to be working on, baby. Oh, yes. What else?
Obsession and rumination. So I dragged myself in the beginning of my anxious spiral, but the thoughts this comes from ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, but like getting unstuck, right? And thought looping. So repeatedly thinking about the same thing without making any progress, especially if you find your mood changing, you're getting really anxious, you're getting frustrated, or you're feeling that guilt and shame cycle spiral just popping off.
Yeah, it's giving hamster on a wheel.
Literally just this little chubby hamster that is about to crack from the running.
And I also, you mentioned ACT. Part of what I love is like, instead of then beating ourselves up, like, oh my God, I can't believe I just fucking sat here for an hour and ruminated and blah, 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 blah. I picture the little hamster. Mine has a cute little pink bow on her head. And I just say, come here, baby. And I just say, give her a little pet. And just say, love you. And then if you want to get back on your wheel, you can. But it's just like pattern interrupt, right? Just get you out of the cycle long enough and be kind.
Yeah. Wait, I have to construct my thought spiraling hamster to be continued.
Yes, to be named. Okay. Another thing to look for is, are you sort of losing time, right? And not necessarily in a fully dissociated way, but like, I sat down to look at this for maybe 15 minutes and now it's been 45. Right? Or it's been 2 hours when I did not plan on bringing that much time into this. So you want to, time is non-refundable. And we want to make sure that we're being intentional with how we're using it, because you use it or lose it, baby. So if you're losing time, and gets a little bit into what we're going to talk about in a minute of what can we do better, but it can really help to like set a timer to kind of jolt yourself, something external to sort of like, oh, hi, I'm still here. It's been 15 more minutes. Do I want to keep doing this?
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of a visual timer, ADHD things, but timing yourself and actually seeing how much time you're spending in a space like that or on something that's unfulfilling and having an actual visual representation is really powerful, actually, and could help snap some of this back a bit. Yes. In the continuation, like distress, right? Like it's really fun when it's a hyper-focused research. And then if you're getting to a point where, you thought it started fun and now this is just distressing, you're trying to find information and you're feeling stressed or just agitated, not great, especially if this comes from a anxious place and you're looping these thoughts through, really kind of noticing, oh, so when I'm going down these rabbit holes, what am I actually like feeling and noticing in my body and in my mind? The mind is rolling, but what's going on in the body? Are you comatose in the bed doing this, or are you in that like paralysis state on the couch? What's going on in terms of stress in your body?
Yeah, absolutely. And related to that, like fatigue, both physically, mentally, which of course, when you've been staring at, usually rabbit holes are happening on screens.
Oh, yeah.
And we know what generally happens with fatigue and brain fog and everything when you've been staring at a screen for a large chunk of time, especially without breaks. So just kind of noticing how that, even if it was like a half hour, an hour, whatever chunk, how is that going to affect your sleep, your mood, your overall mental health for the rest of the day? And I'm a big fan, though, because like I remember I was on a recent rabbit hole and it was like halfway through the day and I was like, I could have gone down the whole place of like, oh, I can't believe I've wasted all this time when I could have been doing all these other things. And I'm such a big fan of the idea of like, you know what? You get to start your day over at any fucking moment you choose. And so I said, I'm starting my day over right now. But then the trick is you really have to be intentional about like, what am I going to do that's different? Because if I say that, but then I don't set myself up well by like, well, I'm going to turn my little phone blocker on. I'm going to put it in the drawer and I'm going to do the next thing that I decided was important. Right.
Yeah.
So start your day over at any point, but just that awareness that yes, this will likely have repercussions for your day if you're not really intentional about that.
Totally. And I think going into avoidance, right? When we find ourselves in these spirals, rabbit holes, are we doing it to avoid something that's going on? Procrastination, are we putting off a task? Are we putting off our feelings? I think a lot of times, you know, we live in the kind of age of doom scrolling, right? This goes into some of that visual screen component. So you've had an activating day and you come home and you're just in a rabbit hole instead of actually checking in and being like, damn, I had a really activating and busy day. Like, can I work through some of the feelings that I'm having? But instead just turning literally away from yourself, right? And into an abyss to try to make yourself feel better. I think that's one of the most interesting things topic-wise about Gen Z mental health challenges is this pattern of avoidance turning toward the internet instead of turning toward yourself and thinking, wait, actually, like, what's going on? And am I enjoying being on the internet and in this rabbit hole, or am I just like running away from shit?
Yep, absolutely. So I think we've covered already some really great strategies. And I think related to what you were just saying about avoidance is like, tell me why. Like, really, though, like, ask yourself why. Why am I doing this? Because sometimes it might sound so obvious, like, oh, well, I'm doing this because I want to learn about this thing. Yeah. But it's like, but really why? There's good reasons and there's real reasons. So the good reasons might be valid, but like the real reason might be, well, I'm fucking avoiding doing this other thing that's harder. And like, that doesn't have to be a whole thing. We don't have to overanalyze and be like, oh, but what's wrong with me that I'm No, we want the path of least resistance, right? That is just human nature. So of course you're going to try to whatever fucking mental gymnastics strategy to avoid doing the hard, unpleasant thing. But the hard, unpleasant thing just still probably needs to get done. Yeah. So how can you like psych yourself up and use some of the behavior change strategies, which I'm sure we'll get more into in future episodes too, to like, you know, incentivize yourself to do the hard thing instead of just putting it off and creating even more stress for yourself.
Yeah. Get your bank of tasks and like the emotional bank like evened out a little bit, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And the last thing I wanted to say, which is like where this topic even came from, is I was messaging one of my best friends, Patrick, about some of my rabbit holes recently, and just saying like, you know, it's such a mind fuck because like on one hand, I know that it can be really unhelpful. On another hand, I get really excited and want to learn everything I can. And like, but that wasn't the plan for the day, right? So like, what do we do with all of this? And we were kind of joking about like, maybe we should schedule the rabbit holes. And like, but for real, I'm like, I might, you know, at times just play with like putting in like, I'm going to put in a 30-minute rabbit hole chunk here and here in this open spots and just say, girl, whatever that thing is that you've been curious about, now is your time to go to town. But we're setting a timer, set a visual timer, right? And like, just give yourself that little space to just like nerd out and deep dive on something. And like, I think for me doing that will help like scratch this itch some.
It's very the container exercise coded.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Like put some time containment around it because this is the type of thing that has so much momentum that if you don't put time containment around it, that's where you'll be like, where did the last 3 hours go?
Exactly. And this is my dedicated space to scratch this itch instead of feeling like it's blended across your entire day.
Yeah. So thanks for going down the rabbit hole with us.
Yeah.
And now our musical segment. Now that's what I call Okay, where Emerson and I each share a song with each other each week as representatives of our respective generations. We tell you a little bit about the song or artist, and then we press pause, we share the song with each other, and then we come back for our live reactions. And we're capturing it all on a Spotify playlist linked in the show notes for you.
So, my song for today, and I was telling Emerson before we push record, this was actually not going to be my first song, but then the shirt that I put on, I'm going to angle my camera down a bit. If you're watching on video, you will see, and I will describe if you're not. It is all the Spice Girls in like graphic animation as fairies. And this actually originates from this song's music video. And I saw this come out into the Spice Girls shop like a year ago, and I was like, I have to have that shirt. Like Spice Girls, fairies, what more could we possibly want in life? And I also happen to love this song. So the song is called Viva Forever. It was co-written with the group and Matt Rowe and Richard Stannard. It was released as the fourth and final single from the Spice World album in July of 1998. Virgin Records, baby. And the commercial release was delayed several times and was poorly promoted. It all coincided with when Sweet Ginger Spice Jerry Halliwell left the group, which was devastating. And then the accompanying music video, directed by Steve Box, features stop motion animation of the girls as fairies. It took 5 months to be completed. And the video was commissioned months before Jerry left, so she is featured in it and on the artwork. So here is Viva Forever. Okay. So before we get your reflection and reaction, just a couple of quick points that I wanted to say. First of all, Mel C, Sporty Spice, always coming in as the vocal powerhouse every time. So good. Also, clearly they did not work with a like language or dialect coach because what is hasta mañana? Honey, what is it? Otherwise, what did you think of the song?
It reminded me it felt nostalgic to me even. I mean, I grew up listening to the Spice Girls a little bit, obviously, from where I was raised and reared. But the kind of I used to love just putting on MTV as a kid, and my mom would always be peeking around the corner at me just dancing to tons of different stuff. I could totally see little me just being hasta mañana. Yeah, it's kind of a vibe, okay?
I love it. I love getting to share that with you because it's a little bit of a B-side. I mean, it was technically a single, but it's lesser known.
Love that. I love the I'm excited for our reverse musical education. I'm my parents are going to be real happy. They're keep strengthening this musical. They're come on.
I love it. Okay. And I can't remember if we say this in the intro to the segment, so I'll just say it here, that what we just did is we are live listening to the song. Obviously, we're cutting out the part where we listen. But yeah, to hear the song, maybe for the first time, but if not for the first ever time, hear it fresh to be able to give our live reactions. So, and your song, I will say, speaking of the music education, I think you were the person that I learned about Chappell Roan from.
Oh yeah. Gatekeeping a little bit. Yes, my song is Super Graphic Ultra Modern Girl. Say that 30 times fast.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Anything you want to tell us about the song before I hear it?
Yes. So this is by Chappell Roan, the queen that has taken the world and internet by storm this summer. This song comes from her, I would say, breakout album, The Rise and Fall of the Midwestern Princess. I am so pumped. I'm going to her concert in October. Woo. And I saw her at Bonnaroo, and it was crazy. So just some fast facts. Miss Chappell hails from Missouri, hence the Midwestern Princess. Very campy 1980s, synth and some early 2000s girl pop. She has completely blown up, but she has been trying to break it into the industry for almost 10 years now. She started when she was 14, and we are peer age. She's 26, I'm 25. So I think this is so sweet. Her name is inspired by her late grandfather, who passed away in 2016. His name was Dennis Chappell, so that's where the first part comes from. And his favorite song is the Strawberry Roan by Curly Fletcher. Maybe my age is showing, but who dat?
Yeah, I don't know.
But so the Chappell Roan part is, he passed away, I think, 2016. And that's when she started adopting her stage presence as Chappell. She has definitely received her flowers for being our generation's gay, queer pop icon, revivalist. She is a proud member of the LGBT community and has spoken openly on Instagram about her struggles with being diagnosed with bipolar 2, going to therapy, being medicated, having an IOP experience. What I love about Chappell is just her authenticity, her drag influence, and how that goes into her aesthetics. She's really just giving us pop girl anthems. I've been yearning for pop since like probably like, yeah, like some Spice Girls, like early 2000s stuff. And she's really just reminding us of what we're worth, and fuck the male gaze, everyone.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
And I've definitely heard some of her songs, but like generally the ones that are like played a lot.
Yeah.
So I've probably heard this one like in the background, but not ever really listened to it. So I'm excited to listen to it. Okay, here we go. Okay, cool. Yeah, it felt like, I don't know that if this is the case across all her music, but it feels like similar to Gaga in a lot of ways, like the vocal styling, the vibe. And I've never been like the biggest Gaga fan, but it's just like I'm very picky with pop music.
Yeah.
But yeah, felt a little Gaga. I love the lyrics, like the juxtaposition of the hyper mega bummer boy and the super graphic ultra modern girl.
Yeah, she's Gaga influence. People say like Kate Bush, like running up that hill, like some of her. I wouldn't say maybe for super graphic ultra modern
Maybe
girl,
not that song. Yeah.
Some of her other like slower stuff.
Ooh, yeah, very cool. Okay, thanks for the education.
Welcome to the segment, Wait, What? Where I fill Val in on all of the internet vernacular and lore so that she doesn't end up being an irrelevant elder millennial.
Emerson, tell me your thoughts on Demure. Why is it such an obsession?
So Demure, shout out to Jules LeBron at Giuliani on TikTok. She's the one that kind of coined this new turn of phrase. I think Demure is so funny because a majority of the time we're using demure in like that satirical, ironic way. So you're doing something that's not actually very demure at all. And which is just, I think, totally how I operate in the majority of my vernacular. It's loud and big and silly. So I love just like doing something kind of nuts. And then I'm like, that was so demure and mindful of me. And I think we just love a kitschy phrase.
Yes, yes. And people, it seems like, are also using it to describe sort of like the mundane things that they have always done, but like, look at me flossing at night. How demure. Oh my God. So I found this article from the New York Times, the Styles Desk, which I will share in the show notes, but I just wanted to share a couple little snippets from that. So they talk about how, you know, this thing has blown up in the past couple of weeks on TikTok and is now like, brands are using it. Like the New York City fucking Department of Sanitation is using it. They posted on Instagram that the city's new official garbage bins were very demure. And they should just talk about how like this thing that happens now of like a new word or phrase that gets trending online and is just repeated everywhere. And that it, you know, can be, like you said, sort of this tongue-in-cheek, not literal definition. And like how funny that the word kind of right before this, brat, was sort of the opposite of demure.
And I love that. And I think even how brat was picked up literally by Kamala Harris. You're kidding. Like Charlie XCX was like, Kamala is brat. And Kamala immediately was like, exactly.
Yes,
like,
I am.
Language
like the Gen
is
Zs running her social media are fucking killing it.
Nailing it. Like all of us are, we just live, I think sometimes I'm like, was I a linguist in another life? I just love language and vernacular. I just think it's so funny and cool. And so every time we get something new kind of added to the lingo, I live for, because it brings such like connectivity with young people.
Yes.
And to the fact that it literally spread to the future president of the United States, Kamala Debbie Harris. Good morning. I'm gagged. I'm like, this is so exciting.
Yes. And what's neat about demure is like, and this, you know, person who maybe sort of set off the virality of it, Jules. Jules is a trans woman, right?
Yes.
And like has this different appearance and demeanor than like what we might consider the sort of like old school patriarchal thin ideal white woman version of like what soup feminized looks like, right? So that's so cool. It's like being subverted. So it's like it's not the JD Vance trad wife thing that we're like wanting to amplify Demure. We're like, as the New York Times article says, like they're saying it with a wink, right?
Yes. Very tongue-in-cheek,
love it.
like you said.
Yes. Very mindful, very demure.
Us doing this pod is very demure and very mindful.
And now for our last segment of the show, welcome to Fire Dumpster Phoenix. It is rough out there, y'all, and we need all the hope we can get. It's time to go dumpster diving for some positive news and rise from the leftover Happy Meal ashes together.
So, the good news of the week. When I read this, I was just like, you're kidding, folks. So, the headline essentially, Texas teachers emergency delivering a baby at a school. Huh? Kind of probably a crazy place to like go into labor. So Ashley Simmons, principal, and teacher Ashley Strain. First off, we love the double Ashley. Hey girls, shout out. Of Cunningham Elementary School in Wichita, Texas, helped one of their teacher's aides deliver her baby in the school bathroom. Her water broke. They were like, girl, we're 10 minutes away from the hospital, but they just could not get her there in time. And baby's fine. Obviously, I think she was 30 weeks. So we're having like a little preemie situation, but mama and baby are fine, doing well. And I just think women are so cool. Like these ladies just jumped into action, delivered this baby. I think in the article, they said, like they instructed the 400 students to just nobody knew. They were just like, okay, just keep everybody in the classroom. And they just literally delivered this baby and patted it, made sure it was breathing. EMTs and everybody came and took mama and baby, and now everybody's fine. And I just was like, oh my God, would I deliver someone's baby in an elementary school bathroom? Like, I mean, sure. Like, yeah, because I like love women and like, let's, be in power. But I just thought it was so cool and, probably like a really scary situation, but they pulled it off. And just like the coming, like crowding around this woman and helping her in like a really stressful time and in an unideal situation, but made the best of it. Just thought it was dope.
That's so cool. For any Abbott Elementary fans listening, I'm pretty sure that Ashley is the name of the teacher's aide that they brought in like a season or two ago. And she's like the hyperbole of everything that culture doesn't like about Gen Z. So she's really funny, but I'm like trying to imagine Ava, the principal, who's like this, like talk about hyperbolic character delivering like it would. I'm like, please, Abbott, make an episode of this. We would watch it. It would be so good. I love it. And also I was thinking about an episode of The Bear that we just watched last night where one of the characters, and this is not a spoiler, but they're talking about the idea of legacy. Ooh. And they ask like one of the guys in the conversation, like, what does it mean to you? And one of the things that he said that just really like stood out, he's basically just talking about like, I want to be present. I want to be, I want to show up, like really show up. Yeah. I want to be an excellent emergency contact. And I'm like, fuck yeah. Right. Like, well, like be fucking reliable, be the kind of person who's going to learn the life skills to like, do CPR or help deliver someone's baby or like whatever. And like, just show up for people when they actually need you. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ugh.
Oh, like that.
So speaking of someone who's showing the fuck up, my article, and I even printed it. I'm just going to share little tidbits of it, but it's like, because there's like some big shit in here that I want to touch on. And it is like, talk about dumpster fire. This is the worst of humanity, coinciding with the best of humanity. So we know that shit has been rough in Haiti for a long time. And it's getting worse. It's escalated this year, like to a worse point than it's ever been. Like the gangs have shut down 60% of the hospitals in Port-au-Prince. They've just looted and they're controlling things. They're like on the roads, stopping people in their cars and like kidnapping them for ransom and shit. Like it's really bad. So this woman, Marie Marcelle-Deschamps, when she was 11 years old after her father died, she decided she wanted to be a doctor. And so she went on and in her like 20s with some other people co-founded this hospital. Goes by, the acronym is GESCIO. So that's what it goes by. And she's now been there for 42 years. It originally started for treating HIV/AIDS, but now it's not only like one of the largest hospitals, but they also have like all of these. They have women's leadership training, they have education, job training, community building. It's a Haitian-led solution to the challenges of the community that historically external countries and organizations have been coming in to try to fix all this. And this woman is like, nah, y'all, I'm going to do it from inside. Right. And it's just insane. So she actually got stuck in the US when she was over here. I think it was the US. Washington, when she was here for a conference and she couldn't get back in for like over a month.
Oh my God.
And because the gangs were just like shutting down the airports, the government buildings were under attack, and it was just insane. But she, instead of feeling like, well, thank the fucking God I'm over here and not in the middle of that shit, she's like devastated that she can't be there with her employees, with her people, like providing these services at a time that it was needed the most. So she did eventually get back in, and it's just crazy. Like there was, I mean, they're not to mention they're dealing with, you know, the earthquakes, the coups, the just everything that this woman has dealt with. And let's see, so she says, my goal and mission in life is to bring peace to where I am. And like, talk about a place in the world where like that mission is just insane. So Haiti has not held presidential elections in 8 years.
Wow.
The last president was assassinated in 2021. The prime minister, Ariel Henry, was blocked from gangs from returning to the country, and had to resign. Like, it is just really, really dark. But then here's GESCIO, and one of the things that they're doing, they've integrated a women's program. They're offering K through 12 education, workshops, teaching women how to make handicrafts, and do construction. They're offering trauma counseling. And they're also created a primary school so that the participants can bring their kids so they don't have to worry about childcare. Like, it's incredible. And then also they've relocated some of the key medical services to mobile clinics because it's dangerous for employees to even try to drive to the hospital. The guy who works with them from UNICEF, they say that it's like takes months of planning to get ready for his sort of journeys there. And he's like, and meanwhile, she just like gets in her car and drives over there. But people in the community have so much respect for her that they get out, they like check her ID and they let her pass. So, I mean, this woman, when I read about her and just like saw her picture, just like a fucking powerhouse. And I'll share that because this probably won't be the last time that I share an article from, it's from the Christian Science Monitor. It was reported by Linnea Ferm. I personally I don't identify as Christian, but this magazine, my stepdad grew up Christian Science, is Christian Science. And so I have known about the Monitor. It's excellent journalism, and it's not religiously affiliated journalism. So it's just a core part of the church's mission to like provide really excellent journalism. And they've been doing it for decades, like maybe over 100 years now. Wow. So now it's a print edition of the magazine every week. And I sit with my magazine 20 minutes every morning before I get out of bed. That's my new ritual. And I just learned so much about like the workings of the world. They bring what they call humanity behind the headlines, and they talk about in every issue people like this who are making a difference. So I'm just very inspired about Miss Marie Marcelle-Deschamps.
Who run the fucking world? girls.
Right?
Like,
Oh,
wow.
my God.
What an amazing story.
Yeah. So on that note, thank you so much, listeners, for being here for our first ever episode. We hope you loved it.
So much fun. Catch us at the next one. We're here to stay, everyone. Yeah.
See you soon.
Bye. This has been another episode of But For Real, produced by Valerie Martin and Emerson Ryder and edited by Sean Conklin.
But For Real is a Gaia Center production. The Gaia Center offers individual, couples, and group therapy for clients across Tennessee and in person in our Nashville office, as well as coaching for clients worldwide. For show notes or to learn more about our work, visit GaiaCenter.co or find us on Instagram at the Gaia Center and at But For Real Pod.
But For Real is intended for education and entertainment and is not a substitute for mental health treatment.
Also, since we host this podcast primarily as humans rather than clinicians, we are not shy here about sharing our opinions on everything from snacks and movies to politicians and social issues.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode.
See you next time, bestie.